We are going to be reading only historical fiction for the week, but we're going to start off doing something super fall-esque. It is so chilly here. Like, it is wild how fast it's gotten, like, really chilly. Right now, it is, you guys are gonna just freak out. So for one, yesterday it was 70, like a high of 71 and a low of 48. And okay, well, where I'm at, there is like literally no service. Oh, there we go. It is 62 degrees right now. 62 degrees! It is a high of, I think 70 today, and right now it's 62, but it's a low of 42. So it is chilly, it is cold. I definitely should have brought like a crew neck or something, but I wanted to wear this like cutesy little dress because I feel like I'm still giving like I'm not ready to like fully let go of like summer outfits, you know, but we're gonna go in and look at some mums. I think they have some pumpkins here. Just like get into the fall vibes. I feel like I am really leaning towards like literary fiction, historical fiction, and books like that for like the autumn season. Will that stick? I don't know. I did read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I was obsessed with it, and I feel like that's part of the reason why I like am really leaning towards that. But we will see how I feel by the end of this video, if maybe I've read too many and I'm over it. But let's go in and see what we can grab here. I'm typically like a romance girly, so I'm interested to see if like this challenge is gonna be my cup of tea. Let's go see what we can find. Whoa, jump scare, I know. I got my hair done, literally left the little like flower farm and immediately went to go get my hair done. I feel like whenever I get like, I don't know, busy, the last thing I want to do is my hair. And so getting braids has been so helpful for me. It's so funny. I was at Brady's parents' house yesterday and his mom was like, oh, do you have like a beach trip you're going on? And I'm like, honestly, that is valid because every single time I've got my hair done, I usually have like a trip I'm going on, which I actually do have a trip now that I think about it. I'm going on a trip with some book besties very soon. So you guys will be seeing that over on my Instagram before you see it here, but definitely make sure you guys are following there if you aren't already. But yeah, so that's not actually why I got my hair done. I just wanted to like get my braids done because I feel like it's so nice to not have to worry about doing my hair. But right now I'm actually making chili. It's a cozy football Sunday. It's so nice that like football's back. I'm loading the dishwasher, and what's funny is I actually used to never load the dishwasher or like do laundry or anything like on weekends. So I'm like, oh, look, I'm relaxing, like it's the weekend, I don't want to do anything. And then I realized that if I could just do like small amounts of like laundry or dishes on the weekend, just like one load, like I will feel so much less like stressed or overwhelmed when Monday comes. So I've been doing that for a few weeks and it's actually been really helpful. And I feel like it's the same like way of thinking for me with like working out. Like if I'm feeling like stressed or something, I'm like, oh, I don't have time to work out. Like I always tell myself, just do a 30-minute workout. Just literally go work out for 30 minutes. That's it. Like you don't have to do anything more than 30 minutes. And instead of just like writing off that thing that I don't want to do, I just do it in small doses and it makes it so much more manageable and a lot less like stressful. But making chili, so let me show you guys that. This is the chili. This recipe is really good. I'll link it below. This is what I always use whenever I'm making chili, like the same recipe, but it has jalapenos in it, which is really good. I've decided in this video I'm going to start with the book, The Personal Librarian. I picked this up in one of my last videos. This looks like such a good book. It says it's a remarkable novel about J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, Bella DaCosta Green, the Black American woman who is forced to hide her true identity and passes white in order to leave a lasting legacy that enriched our nation. Now, you guys know I am a romance girly through and through. Like I don't even know how this video is gonna go. I think I'm going to just like read literary fiction or like, I don't know, books in that like vein. Does historical fiction like fall in that vein? I feel like it does. Like literary fiction to me, like I always think of books that I would read in college. Like historical fiction obviously is its own like little genre, but I feel like it all kind of falls under the same umbrella, or at least we're gonna make it fall under the same umbrella for this video, because I don't know if I could read like 3 historical fiction or 4 historical fiction or 2 historical fiction books like back to back to back. And maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll be like, you know what, I'm eating it up and I don't want to read anything else. But I kind of feel like I know myself well enough that I'll want to change things up a bit. So I might switch to like another like type of book that's not historical, but it's still like literary fiction, if that makes sense. So we're gonna read this one first. It is definitely not the type of book that I normally pick up. These are normally books that I'm like, they're gonna be boring, like I'm not gonna like it. But after reading The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, I feel like I have been forever changed. That book for me was a 5-star read, and I genuinely just picked it up because so many of you guys said that her books are good, and I was like, let me try something that I haven't heard a ton of people talk about. I feel like I hear a lot of people talk about The Nightingale, The Great Alone, or I hear a lot of people talk about The Women. Picked up The Four Winds, loved it, absolutely loved it. So I think I'm gonna read this one. I wanted to read more historical fiction that is like centered around Black women. I just think it's so cool, like learning about our history, and having like things that maybe I don't hear people talk about or that I don't even know about, and having it be like told in a way that's like really enjoyable and like easy to read. So we're gonna read this first. We'll see how I feel. I don't have a ton of like literary fiction or even contemporary fiction or historical fiction even on my shelf. Like I have a ton of romance books that I have like on my TBR that I like want to read, but I don't even have a ton of books for this video on my shelf, like other than the recent ones that I picked up. So it's kind of exciting, like jumping into a new genre, but this is what we're gonna read. We'll start this and I'll give you guys my thoughts as we go. I decided to start Shark Heart, and what am I reading, guys? What am I reading? Also, can we talk about how I am such a mood reader that I'll literally be like, oh yeah, I'm for sure gonna start this book, and immediately start something else. Like I feel like I'm the only person who's like that. Comment below if you're like that. I'm just such a mood reader. I will change what I want to read in an instant. But I'm reading Shark Heart, and I'm 123 pages in. Now, so many of you guys were saying how this book is like life-changing. It's so like heartfelt. There's so much depth. Y'all, what am I reading? Like, what? Okay, so if you don't know, this book is about a guy who gets like a disease where he turns into a great white shark. And it's like set in like a regular like era, like a regular world. And because it's set in a regular world and it's not like a fantasy world, I'm having the hardest time wrapping my head around this actually happening. Like I'm having a hard time finding empathy. Like, you're turning into a shark, you're about to go swim in the sea. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this yet. Initially, when I first started, I was like, okay, this is like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. And then the more I get into it, I'm like, this is so fantastical that like, I just want to see what happens. Like, does he turn into a shark? Does he swim in the sea? Does like his wife end up trying to figure out how to turn into a shark so she can go swim with him? Like, this is such a weird book because it is contemporary fiction. Like, this isn't fantasy. It's interesting. It is definitely like talking about a lot of different things and like making me think things, like how her husband has this like terminal illness and she like still has to go to work and she still has to like exist and pay her bills, and like that's the last thing on her mind. And just like how, you know, wild our society is in that aspect, where it's like he was like, oh, I like want to go to the zoo, and she was like, I have to work today, and he's like, well, just like, can't you just like get off for the day? And she's like, no, like I need to like go to work. And so she ended up having to like move around her meetings so that she could like go. And it's like, well, he's turning into a shark. Like, he's not going to be a human. He's going to be gone. Like, and it's just interesting, and like everyone's kind of like shunning them in a way. Like, they don't want to be around him, almost as if they can like catch what he's getting, which they can't. And I kind of like want to go look at Goodreads reviews to see like what everyone else is saying, because so many of you guys were like, oh, there's like all these deep themes, and like you'll feel so connected with the story, and like him being a great white shark is like a metaphor for like different things. A metaphor for what? Like, I need to know, a metaphor for what? Because I just don't, I don't know. I also feel like I want to use my own critical thinking skills too. Like, I don't want to just go to Goodreads and see like what people are saying so I can be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that, now I get it. Like, I kind of want to come to my own conclusion as to like what this book's like actually trying to tell me, or what I'm supposed to learn from it. Maybe I'm not supposed to learn anything. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how I feel by the time that this book is over, because I'm 123 pages in. And there are 407 pages total. There is a discussion, like questions and topics at the back. So I feel like I'll definitely want to read that at the end of this, just to see like my thoughts on it and, you know, all the things. But yeah, I ended up starting this instead because I can. Like, because I'm a mood reader. I was going to start the historical fiction book, and then I don't know what it was, but this book was just calling to me, and I was like, this book is so weird that I feel like I need to pick it up. So anyway, that's where we're at with this. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. Like, I don't dislike it now. I just am like, what is the point? Like, where are we going with this? Maybe there is no point. Maybe he's just going to turn into a shark. I don't know. But I feel like he's also turning into a shark really fast. So like, is there going to be something else that happens? There's something that's kind of like, they're alluding a little bit to the like main female character, like her life prior to being with him and like what it was like. So maybe something comes into play with that. I don't know, but apparently I need a nap. I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna go with this book. We'll see how I feel about it. I picked up this book thinking that I was going to be reading a literary fiction, and this is literally a memoir. Like, on the front it says, Crying in H Mart, a memoir. And I didn't read the front, didn't read the back. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I feel like if I thought this was a memoir going into it, I wouldn't have picked it up and like read it. So this video definitely has something in this, like the books that I picked that isn't like literary fiction, but I feel like it kind of like fits because it's a similar vibe. If you don't normally read memoirs, I feel like you will really enjoy this. I will say I have been tandem reading this. I'm on chapter 16, and I've been listening on audiobook whenever I shower, whenever I'm driving, things like that. So keep that in mind, like whenever I give my rating in this book, but it is such an accurate representation of grief. I'm on, like I'm partially through chapter 16, and I'm at the part where they are like going through, I don't want to spoil anything. I need to read the back to make sure I don't like spoil anything that actually happens. Because this talks a lot about grief, but I don't think it shares like who they're grieving. It does say on the back that it talks a lot about, it says it's about Michelle, who put her life on hold and flew home to Oregon to be with her mother through the final excruciating months of her battle with cancer. And I feel like I'm resonating with this so much because I think I've shared like my dad passed last year, but I don't know if I've ever shared anywhere that my dad was on hospice for 19 days and he actually chose to like let go. And I feel like I haven't shared that because it's such a hard thing to like wrap my head around, like when someone's in so much pain that they just are like, I'm done fighting. And in this book, like you kind of see that happen in a way. Like you see her get more of a fight and she loses her motivation to fight. And I am really enjoying how this author is talking about grief, because there's so many things that people can't fully wrap their head around. Like in 16, they're going through all of her like things in the house, and like after, you know, she passes, like obviously you have to go through the funeral and you have to go through her stuff and donate it, and like there's just so much to do. And then after you get done with that, you haven't really had time to grieve because you've been so busy. So after you get done with that, that's when like you do grieve. And it is just a very, like, it's something that if you've never been through any type of grief, you can't really like resonate with it. But because I feel like I'm seeing so much of like my own emotions within hers. There's even times in this book that I've read and I've like gotten very like emotional where I've had to like put it down. But there have been times in this book that I've read moments when the main character kind of feels selfish. Like the dad is like grieving and like sad, and she's just like, I do not have time to tend to his feelings because I'm like kind of tending to my own. And she's like, I want to, like I genuinely want to, but like I can't. And then you feel guilt for that because you like know that the other person's hurting too. But then like there's just, it's layers on layers on layers of feelings that people can't understand unless they've been through like a very like hard loss. And this book is just like hitting the nail on the head with all these emotions. Again, I do think the writing definitely doesn't read like a memoir. It reads more like literary fiction, but there isn't a ton of like dialogue in this. Like if you look in the pages, like when you see page breaks in books, it's usually when there's dialogue. There's literally like hardly any page breaks. So just like there isn't a lot of dialogue like at all. Like there's a sentence right here. That's like pretty much it for this whole page. So that's been the only thing that's been kind of hard to like keep my attention, because I'm someone that like really enjoys dialogue. We're getting a lot of her inner monologue, but I think that that is also pertinent because like you're really seeing how she feels and why she feels the way that she feels. So yeah, I'm really liking this so far. But again, I did not expect to pick up a memoir, but I'm glad that I didn't know I was picking up a memoir because I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I knew that it was one. That's chapter 17, and there's a part where she's like, maybe I'm just worried about what will happen when I slow down, and that is so accurate. Like she's trying so hard to keep herself busy. Like she gets this pizza job that she absolutely hates because she just like needs to do something, and the pizza job is like from, I think it's like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. or something crazy, or maybe it's like 11, I don't know. It's from, or maybe it's till 6 a.m. Maybe it's, I don't know, whatever. It's weird overnight hours at a pizza place, and she's just like, I can't not do this job because I need to have something to keep me busy. And I feel like that's so accurate. Like you don't want to be with your thoughts, and you don't want to like think too much about like what you miss. If you have ever been like through any type of grief or anything, you have to read this book. It is so good, and it does not give memoir. Like it does in a way, because obviously it's her story, but it feels more like literary fiction, and I feel like you'd really enjoy it. Again, I will say I've definitely tandem read, because there have been parts where I feel like it's a little harder for me to get through, just because like the writing does not have like any dialogue, but it is such a powerful read. Actually cannot begin to describe how much I'm loving this book. And I think the reason I love it so much is because it's historical fiction, but like all the feelings that she's feeling in this book, I felt at the same time. And I just freaking girlhood. Like the fact that this book was like, it starts in 1905 and I'm now in 1908. And so many of the emotions she's felt are so like human. Like I'm just, no matter the time, like no matter the century, like we all feel feelings of nervousness and stress, frustration. Like we feel like we're alienated. We feel like we're not good enough. Like all of these emotions she's like sharing in this book. And even though she's going through something that's totally different than anything I've ever had to go through, I feel like I'm connecting with her in such a beautiful way. So I don't even think I shared what this book was about. I literally just started it. And I feel like this might be a 5-star. Like I feel like I might be reading a 5-star. Like I don't know. I feel like I've always known, like usually by page 100, I kind of know if it's going to be a 5-star, but because it's a different genre, it definitely takes longer to get into the story. Not that it's not fast paced, because it definitely is, but to connect with the character outside of like what's actually happening, I feel like it just takes me a little bit longer to like wrap my head around. But this is a story about a girl who is JP Morgan's personal librarian. This is actually a true story I did not know about, and it is co-written by a Black author. And Bella DaCosta, she is a Black woman, but she is passing as white. So she's telling everyone that her grandmother is like from Portugal and she like has fairer skin, but she never would have been able to get the opportunities that she gets in this book if she had not like decided to try to like pass as white. But there is some opposition in this because like if anyone is like passing as white and like the government finds out, like you can literally like get in so much trouble, like go to jail, like all these things. So I also think that they mentioned in this, like some people would get like lynched if they were found out, like not by the government obviously, but like I guess I wouldn't say obviously, but not by the government, but by like people who like live in their town or like their city. So it's definitely like very high stakes. And I think that this is so interesting because one, it's high stakes. Two, it's actually true. Like I looked this up, I was like, is she like a real person? Like Bella DaCosta, like was she actually like his personal librarian? And literally she is. There's a whole museum that is set up like that you can go like visit. And I'm so intrigued by this story. I also feel like I'm really loving how I'm learning about Black history, but it's not through the lens of slavery. Like I feel like I'm very well versed in all of the atrocities that Black people have had to overcome within like slavery and like that era. But I feel like the eras afterward, there's almost like a gap in like history in my brain. Not that I haven't like learned it, but a gap in like resonating with the characters in a way that feels like they are real. You know what I mean? Like I've read so much about like historical figures, but I feel like reading this from her perspective, because it's historical fiction, it's written as if she's like talking to you. Like there's a point in this book where like JP Morgan, like she's working for the JP Morgan. He like comes into her or she goes into his office and she's like, oh, he definitely like knows. Like he knows, like and she's like, there's so much tension. I could not read fast enough. Like I could not get to the bottom of the page fast enough. If you enjoy historical fiction, please pick this up. It is fast paced, it's enjoyable, it's interesting, it's not boring like at all. It's very, very intriguing. And again, I feel like this could definitely be a 5-star read. Don't know if I will like find a 5-star read this fast after I just found one, but because I'm enjoying it so much, I can definitely see it being a 5-star read. Like if not, it's gonna be very, very highly rated. So let's keep reading this and I will give you guys my thoughts as I read a little bit more. Before I go read, I want to show you guys this little haul of the things that I got from HomeGoods. I am very like, I don't know, big on like fall decorating, holiday decorating. Like I love decorating for a theme, but I realized while I was in there, I have so many like fall things already. So like, I don't want to overbuy. I've been trying not to overbuy and just think about what I already have first, you know? So I'm going to pull out what I have first before I like go and buy any more decor. And then maybe in future vlogs, I'll like show some more decor that I have. But I ended up picking up this little apron. I thought this would be super cute to wear. I love like, I don't know, being like cutesy and cooking and stuff. And I thought that would be a fun way to make like even more fun. I also picked up this hand soap. I feel like this is a super easy way to add in like fall decor because it's like something I need. It's orange. It smells like pumpkin. I think it's pumpkin spice. Yeah. So it's giving fall, but like not in a like overly like overdone way. You know what I mean? Like I'm not buying decor that I'm not going to need or use. I also ended up getting this candle. This one smells so good. It's white tangerine. It smells so fresh. So I ended up getting 2 of those. It actually smells like the candles from Capri, like the Capri Blue candles. Those are like my favorite. And this one was only, not only, but it's $7.99. So it's a lot better price. And it has this like glass thing that it's in. Oh, it smells amazing. It literally smells just like the Capri Blue candles. And this is by the brand Leoben Company, Leoben Company. And then again, I got these all from HomeGoods, so it's not like I can link these. And then I got clove pumpkin, warm and sweet and spicy fragrance. It says a medley of ripe golden pumpkin accented with crushed allspice. And it just smells literally like fall. It says aromatic clove and pure nutmeg. It smells like one of those like bowls. You know what I mean? Like when people will get like the potpourri stuff and they'll put it into like a pot. It smells like that. So it smells very good. But that's all I got. 3 candles, some hand soap, and a apron. I was gonna get like some fall pumpkins, and then I was also gonna get like some other fall stuff, like a wreath. And I was like, I literally have a wreath at home. I literally have pumpkins at home. So I'm gonna pull out what I already have first. I really try not to overbuy or just buy things I don't need or I won't use. And I literally haven't even looked at what I have already in the basement. So I'm going to do that a little bit later, but let's go outside and read for a bit. All these old-timey books have me on the edge of my seat whenever they have any like ounce of romance, like anything. If someone's touching someone on their wrist, if they're brushing their shoulder, like I feel like now I get it. Like the reason why people during that time wanted to like cover their ankles or their wrists, it's like, that's hot. Like I didn't get it until literally like reading this book. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get why y'all are the way you are, because like there's a moment that I'm like reading right now, and it's on page 138, and the girl is saying how not me saying the girl, Belle, she is saying how one of the women is like leaning in to this guy, and she's like, you know, almost brushing up against him, and how that's kind of like, ooh, like scandalous in a way. And she's learning how at a lot of these events, like these like upper class events, that she's gonna have to kind of communicate in the same way and like not use herself as a woman, but like because she's a woman, a lot of people look at her as if she's like not valuable, even though she's literally working for JP Morgan. And so she's like, all these other women, they will like brush their hand against someone's shoulder or like do things like that to grab people's attention, because as a woman, they're like literally not grabbing people's attention in any way because they're considered like not important. And she's like, I'm gonna use that to my advantage. And I just, and like when people give like lingering glances at each other, literally my mouth is like open. Like I'm like, he gave you a lingering glance? Like he left you speechless? Like it just hits different. It is hitting so different. And maybe because there isn't like the element of like true smut or spice or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's like historical fiction, so I'm not expecting it. It's literally taking my breath away, and I want to read more books like this. Like I need like, and it isn't even like that there's romance, but it's like there is the element of potential romance that could come. Like I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't know if there's anything that's gonna transpire between anyone in this book, but because there's potential, it's like, it's literally making me giddy. We read all over the place in this video, like all over the freaking place. Like I don't even know how I picked up these books. Like I feel like they're so out of my comfort zone, but like I had fun. The first book that I read was Shark Heart, which you guys know that I was very confused by what was going on in this book, and I was kind of waiting for the end to be like this profound, beautiful thing, and it didn't land for me. It like really didn't land for me. I think I'm gonna rate this one 2.5 stars. It didn't land for me. I think that it was enjoyable to read, which is rare for me to say, and by enjoyable I mean it wasn't slow. Like it's rare for me to say that with contemporary fiction, because you guys know that I don't really enjoy like most contemporary fictions until now. So this book was enjoyable. Like the reading part of it, like it was fast paced, like just the story, I was like, what is going on? Like, and I get that so there's like a big metaphor throughout the story, and I ended up looking up on Goodreads to like see what everyone was like saying, like, and I was like, well, yeah, like, I mean, I get that that's a metaphor for like this, but like, why do you have to be a shark? Like, why couldn't it just be literally anything else? Like, I don't know, like that whole animal thing, and then somebody was like turning into a lizard, and sometimes I feel like I wish that people just write things plainly, and maybe that's just me. Like, you guys know I don't really like flowery writing, just in any capacity. I feel like sometimes authors will try to make something so like deep, and you know what I mean? It's like, you can just say what you gotta say how you wanna say it, and like, we could leave it at that. But I know so many people love this book, and I see why. Like, I think that this would be a good book for like a book club, maybe, to like talk about all the different metaphors and like all the different deeper meanings behind it. But for me, as someone who's just like reading it by itself, I was like a little below mid for me. Mid, I'd say, is like usually 3 stars. I'd say a little below that. Like, will I recommend it? Probably not. Not that it's bad. I just don't know who I would recommend it to, because even a typical person who reads like contemporary fiction, like, I was just kind of like, what's the point? Like, I do think that it really talked like, so it talked about grief so well, and I think that it also talked about like terminal illness really well. But I think after, like, because I read this and then immediately went into reading this, I was like, oh, we could throw this out the window. Like, this book, incredible. Like, such a great read. I feel like I would have enjoyed this book more if it had more dialogue. It didn't have a ton of that, but because it didn't have dialogue, I'm still rating it 4 stars, even though the writing aspect of it was my favorite. Like, Shark Heart, the writing was like fun, it was funny, easy to read, breeze through it, but this like plot and story like didn't hit. But for me, the writing wasn't my favorite in this. Like, it wasn't bad, it just kind of was like, it was almost as if like someone sat down with the author of this book, who this like book is about, and said like, tell me your story, and then just kind of like wrote it verbatim almost. Like, I wish that there had been more of like the conversations with her and her dad, of her and her mom, her and her aunt. We got a lot of internal monologue, which I think was important, because this book talks so much about grief, and there were so many times where I found myself like almost crying, and it's so wild. I started this book being like, oh yeah, I don't think I'm gonna like this, just because the writing style was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. But when we got into the plot and like really heavy into it, I was like, oh, this hits. And I think because my dad, like I shared with you guys, my dad was on hospice for 19 days, and I didn't share that with anyone while it was going on, because it's such a private thing. So when he passed, like, everyone's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But like, I had like almost 20 days of me just like reconciling with that. But again, that was his choice. And in this book, you see that she has an illness, but also she kind of decides like, I'm done like fighting, which I wish that there were more books about that, because the way that she felt in this book, I deeply resonated with on a lot of levels. And I think that that's another reason why like books are just so like, can be so good or bad for like just different people, because I feel like I resonated with this because I resonate so much with her as a person. Just like the feelings that she had, and like wanting her mom to try harder, wanting her mom not to get sick because she wanted her to like live longer. Just all these different things, and I feel like it's not talked about enough. And like how she had a lot of guilt with how she felt. Like I feel like there were times where I felt, and I've had to like really grapple with on my own, but just like I had a lot of guilt with how I felt, and just feelings of frustration towards my dad, wanting to be done fighting when he fought for so long to be healthy, or try to be healthy. And I don't know, I just think that I resonated with her a lot in this book. I do think that it's a little different when you have a parent maybe that has like a strained relationship, like they had a loving but also kind of like a tense relationship. Whereas like with me and my dad, like he was literally the best dad like you could ever like want. And I don't know, I think that this was such a deep story of grief, and if you've ever lost someone in a similar way, I feel like you'd really resonate with this, even if the like story isn't your absolute favorite. I did tandem read this and listen to it on audiobook at times, so I think that that also helped because I wasn't obsessed with the writing. If I just read it through, I don't know if I would have like read it as fast, because I would like listen to this while I was driving or in the shower, things like that. But loved it. Now, speaking of things that I loved, this book takes the cake for this whole video. Takes the cake. Now, we read a memoir. We read, what was that, literary contemporary fiction? I don't really know what Shark Heart is. I guess I'll say literary fiction, but like, I don't really know. Cause like, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, this book's gonna stand the test of time, but it's like, is it? Is it though? I don't know. But this book is a true historical fiction. Ate up every second of this book. I wanna read more by this author. Her writing is super easy to read. It feels like I am the character, and she has very strong characters in these books too. I think that this one's gonna sit at a 4.5 for me, because I was like almost 200 pages in and I was like, oh, is it a 5-star? Like, I don't know. Whereas I feel like with my last 5-star, like I knew that it was like 5 stars. Now, could I change my mind? Yes. Like I could sit on this and think about it and ruminate over the characters and be like, ooh, that is a 5-star read. Like I definitely could, but I feel like it's very rare that that happens. Sometimes, but I feel like it's rare. But when I put my review in Goodreads, it's in there for good and it's not changing. So just be on the lookout for my Goodreads review. I also recently reviewed a bunch of books on my podcast, and you guys can go there if you want to like get more just like bookish reviews that are just like chats kind of like this. I don't even know if like half you guys know that I have a podcast. There's new episodes every Friday. But yeah, anyway, I really enjoyed reading books that were outside of my comfort zone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video is going to be very fall-esque, and I feel like you guys will love that. Lots of fall vibes. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.